Right, so I'm going to want to do this. It's been a long time since I've been updating my life in relation to this. I've been going through some uncertainties and things that are. I'm just in a period of life where I have a lot of like insecurities build up for my current progression in life in lines of like certain things. But I feel like keeping up with these outlets and externalization is still healthy in a manner that's toned down just because of it keeps me busy, and I feel like we already take the stance of externalization in a passive form, and I it's like basically in terms of acknowledgement of fame, you might as well use what you got given to you and hope that this pushes up for opportunities within your life. And this is what I'm doing. I'm taking opportunities of something accidental to project it in ways that can be channeled positively in lines of uh, uh, showing you externalization of control for my circumstances that was completely out of control and led to a controversy for my current circumstances and situation for my work employment. So let's continue now with The Devil Wears Prada, a movie that taken lines of noticing or recommendation from the beautiful actress Anne Hathaway. And I'll start with a movie review. So this is a review. If you guys haven't seen this film, I do recommend you watch it first, and then if you want to match in lines of interacting with films to talk about the ways of connectivity, this is generally what I want to say. It's a more natural way of doing things in lines of what do you got? In lines of not causing casualty damage in lines of my own circumstances given the situation that I am in. Sorry. So next, so let's talk about the movie. So the movie's about Andrea, or the actress name started out was Andrea in lines of pushing out, and she's basically in a direction where she explores her life to enter the world of fashion. Watching now the quotes being said relating to female apparel. So there's certain things that are commonized in Easter. I'll just keep going with the summary first. Sorry about that. So during her introduction, she has ill preparation towards a possible boss, despite a huge ambition to want to enter the industry. She knows nothing about fashion. Yeah, she seems to recognize that the boss Miranda Priestley is a very busy person and it's a very renowned name in the industry that she's trying to apply for. Now, she's trying to find a global idea of a dream job while having conservative views towards working life. The movie is about her and lines of juggling basically uh, uh, relationships with better job status of someone that she potentially wants. So it was implied and externalized that in the industry or for her workplace, reputation is a big portion towards the position she wants to be in, and um, and being an intern in a low position, the hierarchy expects to have senior have more privileges than you. Fashion being one of the more inclusive for possible job status inclusion. And I feel in a sense they are more likely to exclude people and they may have more petty reasons for to do so. Uh, so um, so as I said, so a lot of fashion is basically on trends being popular and get picked up and drop depending on the penny who drives the industry in terms of like of commercialization and emphasis and the emphasis on commercialization generally puts someone in lines of saying that um, they need to sell clothes. So there's sexual implication placed onto this industry, despite not being that the emphasis of the film, right? So it's commercialization to sell clothes. So the sexual implication is placed when trying to pick clothing and modeling it into lines of people to get them to bring into purchase their products. So for what was tense as at the beginning, Andy is just way out of proportion for what you feel is expected for the role she's playing. She's not super engaged, not showing enough interest. She's generally placed into someone that is too nice to her colleagues and is in an environment that's kind of cutthroat. Uh, it was later on explained that actually Addie did study law. So she came from having graduated from a prestige and hard career, and then later on working as a janitor for fashion, which values different skills to stand out. So it's a huge disparity. Attachment to the film comes from her likability of the girl she plays. Her boss doesn't know too much about her, so she makes assumption of the curiosity, in my perspective, is placed in her ability to not overshadow her stance in the power dynamics. Her boss is a place where her feelings, where her workers' feelings aren't acknowledged. Impression of this place is she is too nice for the job position, as I said before. And he also seems to be getting several criticisms from her current relationship, which she needs with her boss, and how her colleagues sees it. So how she sees her relationship didn't match the collateral story that her work colleagues were telling out in that regard. The game, she needed to step up her game, and when competition role position is placed, showing the gossip nature of the fashion industry for people that interacts with her on a professional basis. Basically, people talking shit is very common in that industry, and this can affect your reputation. And in that kind of line of work, that can cause casualty in terms of her standpoints in her career. So fashion is something that's consumed in a very regular basis uh, in times of like where products that are get worn and then tossed out. So often people will buy a decent amount of clothes, not in terms of their likes or not, just keep up their social status without having to do too much. Does that make sense? So they're wealthy enough to buy decent clothes and keep showing up and keep in lines of showing higher social hierarchy than her fellow workers. Annie seems to still know names of figures in her work history that have a reputation to comfort her in prior image shown in the film. Later on, her boss does see that she makes gradual improvements, improving her what she wears, interacting in the workplace, and in the boss's standpoint, she upgraded her name, which would imply her personality in terms of like upgrading her social status in her workforce. This was kind of like personalized, so she started calling her Emily prior to the image shown in the film. So this generally implies that her boss is paying more attention to her. So the boss manner of ranking her assistant behavior and praise in life of denoting her name of how she's called. Okay, sorry. So very personal direction towards invasive behavior towards her boss can cause huge issue. This was during the visit, and she started seeing more about her personal life and her maybe family members. And one could say like I feel like that kind of breached out the expectation of a worker should be able to do in someone else's home, basically, right? This is like a whole taboo. If your boss didn't like it, this can really put you in trouble later on for future prospect of like improving your job status. Very personal directions towards him. Okay, so coming along, she's working as an intern, but increased the demand of such strong, authoritative person in her role put a lot of strain of the effort and time to work with her boss. And these stresses affected her later on in the film as she starts to contemplate to quit her job or not, but took values of her life attachments. She's been doing this for a while. She's on with quit, but she's not happy with their work standard environment. Feels she's working too much for too little. And her partner or ex-partner in the film at the start uh, opens up and accepts these feelings, though she doesn't relate to it as as often. Her sense of her worth, stress or not, means increased expectation of the position that she's placed onto her. So later on, Emily left a really bad impression of her demeanor at work. The tone of film gives a soft convergence towards women adolescents to reaching the job positions in their life. So this is a transition of like from a woman's perspective, what can be seen as like relatable in terms of women reaching out the next step in their worker position life or not. Um, so once the work with the stress and removal was work environment as such, so removal of work reactive employment may cause distress towards finding friendship in their work environment. Later on, her boss tells Emily or Andrea or Andy that she wants to fire one of her work colleagues, who was Emily Blunt, playing that role. And her role and attitudes was that um, as she was trying to like keep a positive attachment to relationship, she has problems to consolidate these thought process and just do it because she feels she doesn't deserve it. A massive character development in her industry is a good satisfaction of watching. So a good portion of the pleasure of watching the film comes from lines of the obstacle placed on her character. This is a film about characterization from a sweet girl's and someone that's a sweet girl placed into an environment that is cutthroat, and how she kind of plays out certain scenarios that most people probably wouldn't think twice of backstabbing just to get better social status, and it's a test of her character. A good portion of the film is driven by the fact that people want to see how she reacts when she has to do something that she doesn't like, and it has huge consequence of someone else's life. Uh, She's thoughtful for the whole most of the field. She doesn't just do as her boss says to get approval. She shows that she does value work relations and dynamics, and this vulnerability is finally shown in her boss' perspective. She's having issue towards the experience in life she wants to explore for herself, starting life with a family, and the job that she's looking for is a popular girl's job. Casualty of relationship dynamics seems to be a common expectation. Casualty of relation dynamics seems to be a common expectation. Later on, her partner and her starts to get into an argument, and the partner wants to leave, and he does so, and then they have a breakup. And this opens up the door of someone else in a casual relationship that was approaching her in the work industry that wanted to pursue her in a romantic sense. Uh, Going in and out of them presents the fragility of women and desirability to be feminine while concealing appealing traits. Well, plus desirability of female traits appealing to men, plus increased caliber of one to pursue. There's a balance placed into her characterization for being able to do cold, rash decisions, which is seen not as feminine, and more the aspect of vulnerability that's emphasis on femininity for women on attracting partners, possibly. How things could be changed. Everyone has their own kind of preference and style when it comes to finding their type. Uh, Drama is simply hinted in regards to structural dynamics of regulation being threatened, and Emily does try to find ways to compensate for the effects of backstabbing that was happening during the movie. The devil wear Prada, indeed, that's what if what was being applied here, as this woman is no polite way of saying it. It's a bit of a bitch. Sorry, the character she plays is quite cutthroat, mean towards active relationship, and she has in a situation where her own personal life is also not sorry that she's had another failed relationship for a stance of her pursuit for a job. And later on, the film does explore a takeover where they wanted to up her out, which I feel she's constructed a good stance to fight against that. So her job position is threatened by other people who do not like her for whatever reason, despite the hours that was placed into it for her success. And she also has a cold demeanor towards her underworking staff that in lines of even giving them false expectations in a long run of their interaction wisdom. So she's manipulative, and for me, also that's also a red flag in terms of being able to find someone to put my attachment to in terms of working values. So a lot of the movie is driven by in the workplace dynamic relationship and the attachment of power. Power placed that not on the main character, but more on the emphasis of the devil wears Prada. Later on, it was kind of implied as Anne was going through a lot of the conversion as she was impressing her boss, that this boss seems to see her as a protege, and whether or not she was going to model her to become her next successor may have been hinted, but it seemed to me that the lines Annie actually took a separate stance at the end of the film as she started to be able to make a division and find a different workplace environment away from what it is. Her boss called it, in a sense, protecting the fragility of her protege's character over creating a protege of her industry, establishing a healthy dynamic relation exchange. She says, you're better off working in a different work environment, aside from where we've taken the stance of me working with you and trying to make you into my successor, because you would lose that, and she feels that it's not worth it. In a way, in a very cold, weird way, she's taking a stance of trying to push Anne Hathaway away from her in order for her to find her own success. And luckily, she safely found a job that she was able to be happy in, while still keeping up the comprehension of her skills that she developed and attached to during the film. So now I'm trying to talk a stance of in the next direction of the film, coming lines, certain things I pick out in terms of Easter egg reference, not necessarily the case. My favorite British, they're just funny. You can kind of interact with me or what. So I took a stance of some things that was going on technically around me, and I take this in a kind of like comical sense of the implication of chowder powder and satellite based plants being micro. And I would take a sense of putting humor into that because they're healthier diets if you eat micro satellite substance. The implication of other things I thought were funny, maybe be a quote of like things currently now, of the implication of fashion status from female paratroopers not being a sting and something strangely protested, considering that the new Star Wars series that introduced this concept of the new female paratroopers for the Star Wars series. So I felt personally the female paratrooper was not stressed out in terms of her characterization being fleshed out, her introduction of the playstyle, but you don't really see too much of her. She just appears now and then, which loses potential of introducing a new character, but having no impact in the film. Not saying that's essential, which most people would probably expect yet. It was also the implication that the new Star Wars also implied uh, a new black man that was playing the paratrooper. Goya playing in that role. And obviously that's a separate case because this movie was way before. But it's satirical looking at it backwards. It's quite making this a satirical quote in the film in lines of what I think we're talking about. The next part is in lines of aspects of what I want to talk about. Um, in characterization, okay, sorry. In characterization of the main villain in this film, the meaning of her as the devil wears Prada lines comes in lines of her boss being such a power hungry and person that likes to take the steps of power. So she has taken steps and shown vulnerability in lines of wanting to pursue experience in life that she never had access to, trying seeking out a opportunity to start a family of her own and having the expectations that having the expectation that she'd be able to feel a bit more, uh, give up her position. I feel that she's not able to, and this is the vulnerable point to her relapse in her characterization. In a sense, accepting her fate of the role that she plays in. So it takes a stance that this is just a fictional story and a movie. Please do not feel like other people who hold a kind of demeanor of attachment to power this is the answer solution. No, it's just a matter of like in the real life circumstances where people are trying to live. It's more in lines of saying, for me, in my perspective, letting go of ego. That's it. Thank you very much. And in the film was which was comical was this a dialogue placed out when he said one copy. What are my twins going to do with that? Here, you can kind of hear it for yourself. It was kind of cheeky and I loved it. It's kind of relevant in terms of Easter egg placement for some people who want to check off the things as coincidence, but there.
One copy. What are my twins going to do with that? Share?
Oh no, I made 2 copies. And had them covered, reset, and bound so that they wouldn't look like manuscripts. This is an extra copy to have in file. Just in case.
Well, where are these fabulous copies? I don't see them anywhere.
They're with the twins. They're on the train on the way to Grandma's. Is there anything else I can do for you? Mm-mm. That's all. Okay.
I would say this is kind of a line that I felt was really relevant, contextual of feeling involvement and participation to large production value in terms of movies that's already passed. Thank you very much. That's the line of the quote of this review. Thank you. Let's give this movie a solid 69.3%, which leads it to a 70%. The movie, it's all right. It's not too bad. It's solid B for me. I do think it does not just simplify a chick flick, but it does put in terms of like themes and setting from a female's perspective. The work life for a work life and romanticism attached is very relatable for most of us in the working class. Thank you very much. This is the Ron Orange having a say, and I hope you look forward to my next movie review. Bye.
Hey everyone, thank you for putting the effort to watch the effort I placed on making something of an entertaining video. I hope you enjoyed it. As I said before, it's not forced, but like I really would appreciate any contribution and support you give to this channel, as it gives me more motivation and more incentive to enjoy more video creating and content creation. If you find that the content's drifts away at any point, you can always unsubscribe. It's no big deal. Again, it doesn't mean much. It doesn't take much from you, but it means a whole bunch of me. And it would feel great if you would just reward my efforts of trying to be, positive and contributionary. Thank you so much. Bye.